First thing I mentioned was Auburn. Obviously, they're not going to be in that top 4, but could they create problems for someone?
They can not only create problems, there's an iffy possibility they could still get into the playoffs. Auburn started the season against Oregon. We know where Oregon is sitting right now in the poll. They beat Oregon. They lost on the road to Florida and LSU. The LSU game was, I think, a 3-point game.
Field goal, yep.
The Florida loss is hurting them right now.
Yeah, it was a tight game, but it got away from them at the end. They have Georgia this weekend at number 4. They have Alabama 2 weekends from now. What if they knock off Georgia and Alabama? They play a role in this bigger than almost anyone because they affect Oregon. They affect Georgia and Alabama.
Right. Not both, but if they knock off, one or the other, they will decide the fate of one of those 2 teams if they can win one game.
Yeah, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, having lived in Alabama, Alabama fans are going to be screaming War Eagle this weekend. They desperately need Georgia to go down and get them out of the way because Georgia right now is Alabama's enemy if in terms of the way the SEC championship game goes for this reason. If Georgia wins this game and then beats LSU, LSU's going. And so is Georgia. Alabama's sitting at home.
Stephen A.?
That's exactly my interpretation of it. I look at Georgia. I'm looking at their schedule right now. They lost at home, obviously, to South Carolina, like you pointed out, Paul, 20-17. An inexplicable loss because South Carolina's quarterback looked like he was on one leg for crying out loud, and they still won that game. You beat Auburn, and then you win the SEC championship game against LSU, after assuming you handle your business against Texas A&M and Georgia Tech to close out the season, and you beat LSU. Georgia and LSU are going to the National College Football Playoff. Alabama needs Georgia to lose. It's that simple. And they got to make sure they don't lose again. It really comes down to that because I don't see anybody else standing in their way preventing them. I don't see a Utah getting in there. I don't see a Penn State getting in there. I don't see an Oklahoma getting in there. It's about Alabama lurking at the number 5 spot. I don't see Minnesota getting in there, even though they just beat Penn State. Alabama is lurking outside right at number 5. And to me, Clemson and Ohio State, unless Ohio State somehow, Paul, manages to lose to Michigan. I mean, go figure if that'll happen. Bottom line is this. Clemson and Ohio State is going to be there. The likelihood is LSU is going to be there because of their win over Alabama. Georgia has to run the table. If Georgia runs the table, Alabama is out. If they lose one more game, Alabama's in.
You know, it's interesting, Stephen A., talking about Ohio State. They have a very difficult schedule ahead. I mean, they have Penn State, and then they go to Michigan. And until last week, I thought they were the best team in the country. They were the most complete team. So I still think there are a lot of eyes on that team and see how they finish the season because in years past, Ohio State has always managed to throw a game away, and they'll also have a challenge in the Big Ten championship game. So let's not forget about them yet. I mean, they could lose, or they could conceivably end up being the best team in the country.
I've been sold on Ohio State simply because I saw what they did to Wisconsin, and I saw what Wisconsin had done to Michigan, and that sort of got me sold on Ohio State. But and you raving about Justin Fields, but again, you're absolutely right. They got Rutgers will give me, but they got back-to-back games against Penn State and then at Michigan. And so we're going to, and of course, like you said, Big Ten. So, they could, but I don't see them or Clemson losing. I think it comes down to Georgia and whether or not Georgia can win one more game.
I want to talk to you about Clemson, Paul, because I'm with Stephen A. on this. I'm not saying you have to be ranked number 1, but if you're the defending national champions and you will go undefeated, if you win your conference, the whole thing, you have to have a playoff spot. Now, look, before we get to that, I know we've gone over that a million times.
I'm standing down.
They're talented. They have a great coach. They have a great young quarterback. Are you, your whole case seems to be resting on the fact that they won a game against, UNC on the road. So a 1-point win on the road against a bad team should keep an undefeated defending national champion out of the playoff? When this thing starts, they can run the table.
Hold on. I don't know where in the last couple of weeks I've made the statement that Clemson shouldn't be going. I have them ranked number 3 on my poll. Early on in the season, we were having that conversation, Max, but to me, Clemson has looked very good. They have probably the best receiving core this side of Alabama. Their defense is surprisingly good. I say surprisingly good because they lost so much last year. So no, I know everyone in Clemson wants to think that I'm trying to go to the Supreme Court to find a way to keep them out of the playoffs. I really don't care. I mean, I think they're going. I think they have a shot at the championship this year. They've won 2 out of the last 4, and good for them. They're not really my concern. I was just simply making a point earlier for those who missed it that their schedule is pretty vanilla. I mean, their big win is against A&M. Well, that's Alabama's big win right now. So
Beat it by 2 touchdowns. I mean, you know.
Well, Alabama did too. I mean, it's not like one was at home, one was on the road. I don't think we're really debating whether Clemson is going, despite the fact that both of you guys are dead wrong about why they should be going.
Well. First of all, I'm not dead wrong, Paul Finebaum. That's number one. Number two,
We're gonna have to settle this in a duel. I don't think we can settle it here.
Their schedule. Hold on, guys. Their schedule has been somewhat suspect. I got
somewhat
that.
suspect?
But let's just remind people. No. Well, suspect. I apologize.
I mean,
But let's break this down.
It's a complete and total joke.
Florida
but
State.
That's beside the point.
Look at it. Florida State, 45-14, 45-10, 59-7, 59-14, 55-10. Okay. Jokes of a schedule they've treated like jokes. So all I'm saying is, when you take that into consideration, sure, don't have them number one. I get all of that. But when you are playing your schedule and steamrolling over competition you're supposed to steamroll over, you're undefeated and you're the defending national champion, the playoff system is a joke if a reigning defending national champion follows that up with an undefeated season and they don't get a chance to defend their crown.
Thank you so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.